This week's sponsor is Audible.com, who has more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. Get a free audiobook of your choice at audibletrial.com/CA Telecast. This time around, we're recommending Harold and Maude by Colin Higgins, published just the year before the film was released. Go to audibletrial.com/CA Telecast and get your free book and help support the podcast.
All right, guys, we're back, and we're talking about Harold and Maude. So we were just talking about Maude's tattoo and kind of like the relevance of it. Christian, was that something like you saw this when you were like younger? Was that something that just kind of like stuck out? Did it like not register? Was it something that came back on further viewings, or did you pick that up like right away on your first viewing? Because I would imagine you mentioned you guys were kind of younger when you saw this for the first time.
No, I mean, I was probably 16, so I wasn't crazy young. So I think, and I grew up being like obsessed with World War II.
Yeah.
Oh, so, okay. Like any class that I ever had was always pretty focused. Like any of my favorite classes in high school, at least, was, like history related.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I immediately latched onto it and just like immediately got it. And I agree with you. Like, I love that he didn't dwell on it. Like, it was like a note and then it just moved on, Yeah. And I thought that was the most probably, obviously when someone's allowed to connect dots in their head, it's always more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
As just like watching a movie I always try, and at least in the stuff that I get to make, like connecting the dots as least as possible, because you just like, he could have done this whole 5-minute scene where he goes through Maude's story and like, Harold is like really concerned and like wants to know more, but it just kind of like sits there and they're like at the, sitting at the sunset and that's it. And then you create the backstory for yourself, and whether that's horrible or it's not, like you get to do that yourself. So I think I always look forward to that moment in the film, because the whole film is so outlandish the entire time that this is, like Satchell said, like the first kind of very like normal, like heavy human moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it, but I think that was intentional. I feel like, at least I hope it was intentional, that it was like, cause he doesn't really do it again, even the last scenes, where he's, you feel like he's going to commit suicide for real this time,
Yeah.
Even that, like the way it ends is kind of funny and kind of lighthearted and like sweet and endearing, so like this is him that just choosing to make this like not futz with it, and not like make it feel handholdy, like Satchell said, which I appreciate as a viewer, and I still appreciate it when I see it now. And I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. Like the film like teeters on that dark, like really dark humor, like really well, and I think it does a good job with that. And I think that's a good moment.
Dark.
What?
Teeters on dark?
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. Like there's these dark parts, but then there's also these really comical parts, like with this police chase that happens. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing dark about that. It's just almost like a Benny Hill car chase at that point.
Yeah.
And it's fun, but then it has these nice like character moments. And even like I thought there was a really great moment with the mother where she's filling out the dating application for him, and like part of the way through she starts to like answer for herself. Rather than
there's like a political question in there, and she's just like, well, I think this is right.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, I thought that was like a really telling moment that like obviously something happened to Harold's father, and maybe at this point she's looking for something else, and she's actually the one. So there's these nice moments that give us like a lot of backstory without it being to be like, hey, so what's your backstory?
Right.
Some really good like filmmaking moments in there. But you're right.
If you like watch closely, anytime that he commits or like does one of the suicide magic tricks is always when she's doing something to control him.
Oh,
did you guys notice that?
Interesting. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So like all 3 of the dates that she had picked for him, like he does it, or is it? I think it's 3, maybe it's 2.
Yeah.
And then like when she's answering the questionnaire thing, he shoots himself in the head. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And then for the dinner, like she was telling him when he has to show up for the dinner. Like,
right.
Yeah.
It's one of the weirdest. There's so many things in the film that I still watch now, and I'm like, why is that in there? And one of those things is like, she says like, it's at the dinner scene. I don't know what she says, but he starts eating his food really, really fast, and it's like super disgusting. I never got why he did that.
She says like, eat your beets or something like that, and it looks like these like gross blood beets or something like that.
And he's just like shoving it in his mouth, and like it has no context to anything else in the story,
Yeah.
I don't know why he left that in the film, or why because it's written in the film, there's so many moments like that. But I think like for sure, I don't know if you guys would agree, this is definitely one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, I laughed out loud at a lot of parts.
Yeah.
From like the dark stuff, like obviously like the hanging scene was like great.
The Porsche.
Oh my god, yeah.
That was great.
It's so good.
Him sawing it into a hearse.
Yeah, turn into hers. That was great.
That was great. Yeah, I liked even like little subtle things too, like they're at the one funeral in the church, and then they go outside, and the parade comes through. You know what I mean? Like it's such a goofy little thing, but I was like, oh my god, it's so dark.
My favorite suicide was when, it's the second to last one where he's on his 3rd date, and like, I love that each one had like this slow, hilarious unfolding, and he kept saying like, have you seen my Harry Carry sword? And I'm like, what the hell is a Harry Carry? And then he rolls out the rice mat. I'm like, oh my god, harakiri, like he's going to commit suicide. Like,
and then he does it, and then she jumps right in, and I was like, oh, he found a kindred spirit. Like she gets
he just dies for real.
Like, yeah. And that was another part too, is like, did he really kill her? Like, or are we all like believing that it's all fake and stuff? It's so crazy. It's so bizarre. And then it just moves on. The film is just like, next scene, we're done. The filmmaking and I think the directorial style has such a great sense of humor already. Like Maude asks him like, what do you like to do when you're not at funerals? And it's just boom, smash cut to that building being demolished. I was like, what a hilarious jump cut. It just boom into this next scene. It's so good.
Yeah.
I think my favorite one, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I notice it every time, when he's like, he did something, maybe it was a suicide, and his mom says like, I want you to go talk to your
oh my god,
to your uncle.
Yep.
And she says he was General MacArthur's right hand man. And it cuts to him, and he has no right hand.
Dude. And then he's like, we need to be like this guy. And he pulls the string.
He pulls the string.
Salutes
it salutes with no hand. It salutes his sleeve.
Oh my god. That was great. And then when he stages that thing with Maude, and it's like stuck out. It's so good. Oh my god.
And she falls through the hole in the ground to nowhere.
So, dude, it's so great. Yeah. I'm glad you suggested.
There's no fear of. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love that there's no fear of suspense of disbelief, where like, these things can happen, and like, it's like, screw the guy who's like, well, I mean, the police officer would have showed up at their house and arrested them, or well, it's like, no, just leave it, man. Like, this is what it is, and that's why it's great.
In this world, like, a cute old lady can do no wrong. Like,
right.
They're just gonna write it off as a loss at this point.
I always thought, and I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts about this, but like that scene where he meets the girl and he does the Harry Carey suicide and she kind of joins in. To me, that for some reason always felt like where the film was gonna turn.
Right.
Like he found this other person that was his age and was kind of beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
And it in a natural kind of like, I guess, series of events, like he would like be conflicted about like, do I stay with this 79-year-old woman or do I like do what other people would want me to do?
That's
you know
it.
what I
That
mean?
was
Like,
my thought too. I was like, oh, okay, that's gonna be the girl that he's gonna fall for and
yeah.
eventually come back to Maude at that point.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the film is him trying to like figure out whether he should or he shouldn't, or like his family saying go with this girl. You know what I mean? Like it could have gone that way, but it didn't, and it felt. I was, there's some part of me that wishes that I saw that film at some point, but I'm glad that it's not.
Yeah.
But it's still a weird.
At that
scene.
point, I didn't even think that him and Maude had like. I didn't even see romance. I thought they were like buddy cops, and like that he was gonna eventually commit to this last date. But it wasn't until like it actually literally happened and they like exchanged "I love you" and stuff that I was like, okay, this is like I get it.
Yeah, it was definitely a trip. You know what I mean? And I think what's great about the film is like once you think you have like a grasp on who they are and what's happening and what might happen, it just keeps throwing you for these loops that you're just like, what is going on? Like his whole setup with trying to like deter his uncle from taking him. I was just like, oh, all right, yeah, they're gonna do this little scheme. All right, that's cool, that's awesome, and it worked out pretty funnily. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm glad you suggested it because I'm glad that I've seen it now. I own it now, so I'm gonna watch it like 3 or 4 more times. And
yeah, dude, that was a good recommendation.
Super appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we can inspire some other friend group at their young state of mind to enjoy this film as much as I did.
Yeah, good. Yeah, totally, man. Hell yeah. I was trying to think like as this movie, because I feel like this movie is definitely a stepping off point for other filmmakers, to say like, oh, I want my film to be reminiscent of these feelings and Harold and Maude. Like I was trying to think of a movie that came out in like the last like 10 years or even 20 years that is kind of like this. Do you know what I mean? And like I mentioned like go ahead.
No, go.
No, I was gonna say like I brought up like Garden State earlier. That's the only one that and I don't know if that's
Garden State.
I don't know if that's a good example.
Dude, I kept thinking about Safety Not Guaranteed because like when you see the number on Maude's arm, I thought about how like when you find out that Mark Duplass had the false ear.
Yeah.
And like we kind of saw his pressure point and like it like totally humanizes offbeat behavior for like the whole film. Because the whole film is like weird, and then you see that moment and it's really small in it. It's not a part of the grand narrative at all, but at the same time it is, because it's a part of like what played into forming who he is as a character in a kind of way. Right. And like in that same way, I guess in my head for that moment, like I drew a parallel between the two.
Yeah, you're right, man. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's a good point.
Yeah, but I honestly don't. I think they honestly probably stopped making movies this way.
Yeah.
Like as much as it like committed to what it was doing, I don't think they make movies like this anymore.
Yeah, I don't. You're right. I think we're so trained at this point for that formula. Like you were talking about earlier, is like this doesn't follow that formula. It just doesn't follow any kind of like path or plan. It's like pretty pure in the sense that you're watching a story unfold in front of you and really have no compass as to what's happening or where it's going.
Yeah.
Super interesting, man. I loved it. Satchell, what about you, man? After first viewing, how are you feeling about it?
I saw it 3 times.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
It was cool because I started seeing some things that I didn't think. I was like, all right. I didn't think that I would watch a dark comedy like multiple times, but there were so many really cool things in it that I caught like the second and third time that I didn't catch the first time.
And I think it'd be nice too because you know what's coming, so you can like, oh, I want to see this reaction or like this kind of setup and build to it. Yeah.
And I mean, I super enjoyed it. I thought that it was really tight, and I agree in a sense that like there really wasn't anything like it. And I wasn't really tempted to predict what the next thing would be because I was already sort of set up to accept it how it is. There was nothing about the way that it started or the way the characters were presented that would lead me to believe that I could predict anything that was going to happen in the rest of it.
Yeah,
and
seriously.
I sort of enjoyed that.
Yeah, I bought like the Criterion Collection version, so I'm excited to watch like some of the supplementary
I
materials
want to
with
see
it.
that. Like, I want to see some of the BTS stuff.
Yeah,
If there's
dude,
commentary.
no.
I don't know if there is.
I'll let you borrow it, man. Yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff on there. Well, Christian, thank you so much for coming on with us, man. So where can people find some of your stuff and check out your stuff?
Oh, you know, the old straightforward Vimeo or just search, musicbed.com, and we have a whole mess of stuff that you can look at there. I'm not huge about like promoting myself a lot, so my Vimeo is probably really old, and like my website's probably pretty old. So,
I'm the same way, man. I haven't like updated a lot of my stuff. I guess I've just been focused on doing things. I haven't really done a good job of like branding or marketing.
Oh, like your web portfolio? Yeah, my shit is old too. There's no...
Hey, here's off-topic
no
question for both of you guys. As three working professionals, do you guys use Vimeo Plus or like Pro or anything like that?
The only reason that I have Vimeo Pro, I think is what it was, is because I was doing some project where I needed to upload a bunch of things, and I was like maxing out the thing.
Gotcha.
Like I was maxing out the data like upload or whatever. So I had to bite the bullet and just do it. But now I'm past that project, so I don't even use all of it anymore. I maybe use just a little bit, but that's kind of why I get it. I think the analytics are different or something like that. Like the analytics are probably more
detail, and you can download
analytically
like the original file.
Oh,
video
okay.
on there.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah, because I have like a basic account. I'm trying to decide because like it gives you like a weekly kind of like limit as to what you can upload. I'm trying to decide if I would like use it enough to like upload more than that, or if I can just kind of like stagger things I want to put on there. I don't know. I'm thinking about it more.
Yeah.
You guys, you didn't sell me. You did not sell me on a Plus account.
No.
Yeah, I think the only reason that you would use it is for that. If you're making a lot of content, which if you're even still, it's like a lot, like it's like 50 gigs or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is just too much, but
yeah, it's a lot.
I don't know. Maybe I'm sure like we just did a feature film this past year, and we had to upload it for festivals and stuff, and that was like,
oh, okay.
It was close. It was like we were uploading different versions and like different versions for other people to watch and stuff like that. So I think maybe if you're doing feature film stuff, like we were pretty close to 50 gigs, but we never went over it,
Okay.
But like an hour and a half thing, it's like, 10 gigs or something like that if you upload a good file.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Is it worth it? I don't know.
Yeah. I guess, if I need to make that leap past just like small personal things, maybe I'll think about it.
Hey, how's your TV show? Is it a TV show?
I do like a web show. Is that what you're talking about?
No. You guys talked about it maybe last week.
Oh, yeah. So
it was a pilot or something like that?
Yeah, so we did a pilot for Disney XD. We haven't heard back yet. They said after the New Year, so we wanted to wait till after the holidays to kind of reach out. And
wait, so how does that work? Like they actually correct me if I'm wrong. They like paid you to make a pilot?
Yeah, it was like a test program to develop content for Disney XD through our YouTube network. So our YouTube network is Maker Studios, which got bought by Disney a couple years ago. So Disney is using like Maker as like a way to kind of like I'm assuming like call up talent to say like, oh, well, we could develop, a TV show in the regular kind of like studio pilot kind of like way and waste a lot of money, or we could try these kind of like smaller content people who are making, good content in that sense. And, from what I see like on YouTube, like a lot of like YouTube shows like that upload on the regular get like way more viewers and eyes on it than like a lot of TV shows that are on actual TV things. So I think that's kind of where their mindset is, to kind of like refocus their like acquisition, I guess, of new things. So we made this thing that's like a Are You Afraid of the Dark, or like Tales from the Crypt, but for little kids, and funny, more funny than horror kind of thing. So we'll see. We'll find out. Yeah, if we.
Is it animated or is it live action?
No, live action. So it's like we wanted it to be like little kids, like like young teenagers, but like the time frame that we had to make it in, like just didn't allow for us to like audition and test kids. So we kind of did like a Wet Hot American Summer style thing where we had kind of like 20 somethings playing teenagers in the thing. Yeah. So it's set up as like the Spooky Squad. It's like the name of the show. Is like they get together and they tell these like stories. So we have these storytellers, and then we cut to the story that they're telling, and it unfolds in that. But yeah, it's way more funny than. It's not scary at all.
Yeah.
Actually.
But you guys shot it already? Funny. Like it's done?
Yeah. We made it in like 3 months.
Do you guys like lightning through that, man?
Yeah, man. We had to put a lot of stuff on hold.
You shot and edited it and produced it all in 3 months.
Yeah, we wrote, produced, shot, edited, finished in under 3 months. It wound up being 15 minutes. I think we were aiming for like 22, but we cut some stuff out. It's pretty nuts.
That is really impressive.
Thanks. Yeah, we tried to do it right. It was like, we really like hustled, and like, like my producing partner Paul, like, he does freelance stuff. So we, super worked really hard to like get all of the freelance stuff that he and I share like done and like good, so we could devote a bunch of time to that. I was still working like my regular job doing it. So like the next, if we get the opportunity to make more, I'm hoping we can both devote our full time and full attention to this whole thing. But yeah, it was an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a super adventure. It was like a lot of sleepless nights, and
yeah, it was interesting watching you guys go through that. Talking through Paul through that. You guys are champions, man.
No, we tried.
Are you married? Are you still married?
Yeah, still married after that whole experience. Yeah, married, and I have a 1.5-year-old. So it was like,
jeez.
Yeah, man. It was like kind of my like wife. Super, I'm super lucky in that sense where I'm just like, hey, I'm not gonna come home until 3 a.m. Sorry. I hope everything is fine. But yeah, it was a major juggle. We've kind of been like taking it a little slow over the past couple months, but we're ready to jump right back in if the opportunity presents itself. It'd be kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanks, man. Well, cool.
Well, don't thank me yet. I haven't seen it, so I might hate it.
It's true. It's very true. You very well could hate it. I just mean for the, that it was impressive and somehow we did it.
Yeah.
Part.
Did you sign an NDA or can you like send it to me or something?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's online. I'll send you a link to it.
It's done. It's
it's
like people are watching.
Done and out. Yep, exactly. We signed an NDA for like certain aspects of it, but like everything I told you is basically public knowledge at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally. I will send it over to you and check it out.
Nice.
Thanks.
Maybe I'll like I'll tweet about it or something.
I'd appreciate it. That'd be cool, man. That'd be awesome.
Hey, by the way, I got this new thing. I really I'm trying to promote. It's like a food blog. If you want to tweet at it or something.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
please do.
I'm totally kidding.
Oh.
No, but for real, we're going to try to put some links in the show notes to Summer Christian stuff so you guys can see how good it is. You might not whore yourself out, but I will whore you out.
Yeah, dude, you're super talented. You should.
Yeah, so you got to make sure. Also, he has a blog, christianmschultz.com/blog, where he talks about things. Talks about things infrequently.
It's yeah. I wish. Well, give me some advice on that, Satchel.
Advice? What do you mean?
Like, I'm really bad at doing it.
What do you mean? That was tight.
Like no. Like when I have like the moments to do it, and I do it, and I write it out, and then I put in all the content and the media and all that jazz. Like, it's all like great, but I do it like when I feel like, or like when I feel inspired, instead of like, or like when we just do we do like a project or something, and I'm like, man, like we figured something out, or we found out a new way to do something, or like this just looked badass, so let me show it to people. Yeah, like that's when I do it. But like, how do, like, I don't know, maybe this is, I don't know if like I want people to hear my
your inner dialogue.
My inner dialogue.
Dude, that's every podcast we do.
Mystique.
Every podcast we do ends like this. It like starts like, oh, we talk about movies, and then it turns into like creativity discussion, which is awesome, and I love it.
Yeah.
Dude, I say, man, just put that stuff up. Like, there's no schedule. I mean, it depends. It depends on what you want to do. Like, if you're trying to be like a content creator on like YouTube, they want like regularity and stuff. But like,
they want crazy frequency. But I don't know. I wouldn't know
you could do
what
yourself
the right thing to tell you is, because I do it when I am inspired.
I think it's better that way. I think because
better.
people see it like, you know, I mean, Satchel, you're my friend and stuff like that, and I could, you know, easily just be like, oh yeah, Satchel, yeah, he's a great guy, and just never watch your stuff. But because you're super talented, I watch everything you do. So like,
nah, I'm bummed.
Shut up. But like, no, but like when you put out like something, it's like an event. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, cool, I want to check that out. Like, I want to see that new thing, because it doesn't happen very often. So you want to, like, you know, it's just like a surprise album drop. It's pretty sweet.
Beyonce. Yeah. It's a Beyonce.
Yeah. Dude, just Beyonce, dude.
Yeah, I guess it's like I want to be. Here's the conflict, and maybe you guys can help me, or you relate or something like that. But the conflict is that I want to. Well, here's a story. I'll tell you a story to exemplify what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I went home for the Christmas break, and I met up with a friend of mine. His name's Colin. We used to play in bands together and stuff like that when we were kids. And he told me something that, like, it didn't hurt my feelings because it came from him, but he was like, dude, like, you know, like, you're kind of unapproachable, right? Like, and it was like, but it was like, again, it was kind of funny when he said it. So like, don't take it as like a,
sure.
He wasn't trying to like jab at me or something, you know, but he was basically just like, because of, I guess, the nature of what I do and like the lack of knowledge of who I am. Like, there's this thing built up about me that, like, for some reason, like, my other creative friends or like new creative friends that I get, like, don't call me for like advice, or like call me for like help, or like call me for, you know what I mean? Like, there's like a...
No, I super get it, man. It's like, he doesn't want to like waste your time. Like, is it kind of like that? He's like, oh, well, I don't want to like...
Right. And I totally...
bother you with it.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I would rather nothing but for you to waste my time right now. And I feel like that way, not even just to him, but just like to everybody that is like, I want to be the person that's like reachable, you know? Because I always like when I was doing film, like I was always like, it's kind of funny now. Like I never reached out to anybody because I felt that way about them. Because that's how they were. That's how they were coming off.
Yeah.
You know, like they had
this weird walled garden. I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people deal with that all the time. Like I think I feel like that a lot of times. I feel like that with Satchel. Like, I'm just like, yeah, dude. Why? Every time I like make any kind of like graphic or anything like that, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. I wish.
What are you talking about, dude? You're making moves, man.
No, I just wish that I could.
Like, I feel like I think we all just feel.
I think everybody feels like that.
We all just feel like we're not good enough.
Yeah,
I think it's a human issue.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think it's a real creative issue that, like, you know, that everybody shouldn't feel that way, and that we all actually feel this way.
No, I was thinking about that a couple weeks ago. I was out in LA, and I was staying over at one of my creative friends' places. I was staying at Alex Falciani.
I know Alex. Yeah, he's a good dude.
And super chill. Opened up his place, and I stayed there for like a week. And it was late. It was late one night, and he was talking with me about. Oh shoot! I shouldn't be specific. Damn it! I said his name. Ignore the fact that I said Alex Falciani. We were talking about this thing with this group that you don't know about for this thing that involves a collective of creative people coming together.
Right.
And I feel it's more important that I share this than I try to backtrack. So
just go for it.
This thing with this group, this organized group of artists coming together, and like in that group, there's this one particular creative person that I really enjoy his work for the longest time, in a way that I just have like a lot of respect, and it's like I have a lot of respect. It's not something that, and it's something I would never do. So it's just like it's not like a kind of thing where it's like, oh man, I wish I did that, but it's like, oh man, like he's thinking this way that I would never think, and I'm so glad that that's out there.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because I just like I would never think to go there. And for me, like we had a couple of because we're all a part of the same group of like creative people, like once or twice we've worked together, and it's always been a tremendous opportunity to do that. And for me, I kept thinking, man, this person is great, and they seem really unapproachable because I know their stuff's really great. Like I really like their stuff, and like and like they're probably, I mean, Christian, you hit on the head when you're like, I think there's probably like there has to be like this combination of being like self-aware as well. I'm not really sure what it is, but I know that probably wasn't there. Like for him, he was just thinking, I just need to do my work, you know?
Right.
And because of that, it was really hard to dive into conversations around the things that we do, because it's like, oh no, am I making this seem like a pissing contest? I hope not. For me, I'm hoping we can just celebrate this super specific thing that we do,
right?
Because that's actually really interesting. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's what it is too. Like we all do kind of like film things. There's this kind of like DIY revolution with film where it's just kind of like you have to be this Renaissance man that has all of the answers.
The millennial generalist,
yeah, and to be able to do everything. So in order to like talk to someone and open up with someone else, you have to like admit your inaccuracies.
Inaccuracies.
No,
that's totally fine. No, same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, language is descriptive, not prescriptive, right?
Good. I love it.
The outcome of that was Alex told me, he's like, oh, remember that guy? Something I never told you. Like when we signed him on, this is going to sound weird. It shouldn't sound self-serving because I think it sounds weird. But like, he was like that dude, like when he signed on, he was like, I want the kind of respect that Satchell has. And I was like, that's when I was cool. Like, I knew it. We all just feel like we're not.
Yeah.
We all feel like we're not good enough, and we're like looking at peers, and we're like, oh man, like that's really cool. Like,
yeah, you're immediately making
weird,
like
odd perception.
You're like immediately making like a level. You're like, oh man, I'm totally like not on that dude's level, so like I can't like bother him with my bullshit, you know?
Right? Yeah. It's dumb.
It's all good, man. We're all creative. We all gotta like just go for it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Do you guys try and like break that? Like, how do you guys practically break that down? I guess, and I think you guys have a little bit of a level up because, at least for Satchell, like you're making so much. Here's my perception. Here's the, which is the interesting idea. But like, I feel like your creative like expression, whether it's through YouTube or podcast or whatever, like through even just the work you do every day when you go to work, like you're a little bit more of an open book online than like most people, because like you have a presence online. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. I mean, but there is kind of like this delineation. Like I still have like personal work, and well, I guess like my regular job is a little more shielded in that sense. So yeah, like I guess I have a little more less.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like I have, you know, just in the past couple of years probably made, some would say, a lot of work, but like you've never heard me talk before.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you've never like except like on.
It bums me out because I'm like, all right, I want to get in this guy's head real quick, but there's nothing
Right.
here.
Well, like that's what I'm saying is I feel like, there's there's always good stuff to do, like this stuff, and like I've gotten to do some other cool stuff that like allows me to do that. But there's like this idea that like I don't. And me and my friend Jared were talking about this today. Actually, like there's this idea that like, and this is gonna probably make me sound really okay, like really horrible, and I'm kind of okay with it because I'm just.
Dude.
I'm just saying it. I'm gonna say it.
This is a safe space.
So
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Well, it's safe space, but this is also going out to a bunch of people.
That's right.
And
don't look at the YouTube comments. That's it. You're fine.
right. So this is gonna make me sound horrible, but I kind of like sometimes that people think that I'm unapproachable.
Yeah, it
Do
gives
you
you
know what I
like an
mean?
air of mystery.
Like Mystique,
Right.
Yeah.
And because it kind of harkens back to like the way that I got into film or music or anything like that. Like at least like when you're buying CDs, like you had no idea what the band even looked like. You know,
Right.
you had to go like see him live, and even then, like it's that's it. Like you see him on this platform, and it's like never again will you see them like that. And even it always makes me laugh, like how like Tool used to do shows, with opaque things in front of them, so just shadows.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate like just listen to the music kind of thing,
Right. Or like Slipknot is like these crazy guys, and it's just like that's just Phil. Phil
Right.
plays the clown,
And but like people, like I loved that. you know? And like in kind of a subconscious way, like even growing up playing, I've only started doing film like for like 4 years now. So like I've played music for more time than I've been doing film. So like growing up playing music and like trying to do that whole thing, that's like what you like thrived on. Was like people's perceptions or like people's people maintaining like a mystery, like you said, about something.
No, dude, totally, man. I feel I've had that same kind of like dilemma where like
auteur effect.
Yeah, where like
That's what I pointed in my head.
no, it's like it feels like that because like I didn't start doing like online stuff. I just kind of like stumbled into it and kind of like got where we are in some weird roundabout way that like I never thought that we would have like a following. Like I just wanted to make films and make movies and stuff, and that was like my main concern. I wanted to be known for that. So I always kind of just like had this weird like feeling toward it. Like I don't belong in this thing. I don't want to like share too much. I kind of want to like keep some of that like a secret. And then like as we got more into like this YouTube stuff, I realized that people who have incredibly less to say than I do have like a venue for that stuff and have like a greater kind of following. You know what I mean? Like people who are saying like dumb stuff have like this presence, and people like
I know
find
what
that
is,
it's just
what is that? Like there's this weird reward for like. Sorry, I don't want.
No, it's true.
I don't want to backhandedly slam anyone who's like. But that's such a weird thing. I noticed that, and there's like a pattern. But you know what's funny? It's funny that you say that, Nick, because you actually, in a large way, this is a couple years ago, you kind of influenced me to change gears. So like, for me, like I'm naturally an introvert, and like I was very much interested in making videos on the internet about things that I enjoyed because I knew that I could never stand up in a room of people and say it, or I could never. I don't know. It's like a combination of things. Like that was sort of like, all right, this is the venue for that, because I could never like just communicate that on its own. Or there are certain things that like I would want to communicate, but I wouldn't just want to say it. I'd rather like figure out the best means of conveyance that requires not words, right? And as I was sort of doing that, like, and at that point, like especially on social stuff, like people would ask questions, like whether it's like how did you do this to like what would you think about this, and I just wouldn't answer it because it was like It's not my jam.
You don't want to show your hand, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Like, it's not even like. But that's the thing. So, I was worried that I was doing that because when I started watching the Continue stuff and I started seeing like the comments for the videos, I noticed that you're the one responding to everybody in the comments. Like, if they have a question or concern, like you're like, da da da. Oh, that's great that you thought that, Nick. Like, oh, well, what we did was da 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 da, Nick. And I was like, oh man, I'm being a selfish asshole, man. Like. Maybe I'm
by not engaging.
Maybe that transparency, like, I'm not saying that anyone who's not doing that they're that. This is just what I was casting on myself. It has nothing to do with anyone else.
No,
but
totally.
Like,
and you know what?
It was
too,
just
I
like
think
I keep going back and forth where it's just like, because even now, like I'm very intentional. Like, oh, in the new year, you know what? I want to have less like bullshit conversations on Twitter with people like about things. I just kind of like when I make something. I read this article about this dad. His kid just hit like teenage years or whatever, and like he's 13, so he can like go on social networks and stuff. He's like, you're allowed to go on social networks, but for this first year, you can only post things that you made. And like, I really respected the kind of discipline that's put into that, because there was a time where that's all you did, because there was no re-tumble or retweet of things. Like you just had to make stuff. And there was, I guess, like we're sort of in this weird mid-20s section. Well, you're a little bit older, but still, you're a part of it as well. We're witnessing two generations. Like one that's a little bit more analog, where you have that experience that Christian was describing, and this other one where people are sharing. And I keep going back and forth. Where right now I'm kind of in the season where it's like, all right, I kind of want to reel back and just kind of focus on my work, and not like explain the suitcase for everything, or unpack everything, because that kind of takes away. Art's not art when you unpack it. Like it's just sort of like you watch it, and if you don't get it, that's part of it. Like
totally. It's a weird dynamic that we live in, where like anyone is approachable. You know, like you, like I think Satch, you tweeted something the other day about you retweeted somebody. And I was like, oh my God, you're having a conversation with this person. I love this person.
Oh, Michael Giacchino.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man. Whatever. I was like, that's so awesome. You can just reach out and like be like, hey man, love your stuff. That's great.
Right.
But you can't spend all your time being like, thank you, or like, let me engage, with one person. You kind of wind up like laser pointing your, laser focusing your creativity in that sense. Because you're like, okay, I could explain the process to like one person. And like it's awesome, and it's super good that you can do that, and it's really cool on like the receiving end that can happen to you. But from a creative standpoint, you're wasting isn't the right word. You're improperly using time to like focus on one thing. It's like, oh well, if I could like refocus that. And
I don't think you could do that for everyone. Like now, I'm starting to wonder. Well, maybe it's more valuable that I answer those questions for folks who. And by the way, I don't know if this is a dick thing or not, but like, it's like. Why don't I save that for people I know are going to use it? Yeah. Like, I've been walking with this person, and they share a genuine interest in this, and they're actually making things.
Right.
I'll save it for that conversation.
Here's my beef with that, though, because I get this maybe like a couple times a week. Someone will say or email me or something and ask the same sort of question. Is that what you're talking about? You're talking about people like reaching out for like advice or help or something?
Yeah. The aspiring da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right. So I get the same email at least twice a week, or like some type of form of contact. Like I don't have crazy amounts of way to get in touch with me, which is I kind of like that.
Right. So people who reach out to you are really like doing their homework to like find your contact. That's cool. That's awesome.
Which is so like anybody who does find my email, I generally email them back. But I've just noticed a theme. It's like, hey, tell me your process, which is such a huge question.
Yeah.
That it's kind of unfair for me to answer them.
Yeah. You know what, too, man? Like we would get a lot of questions like that. And I think it's with like the video game stuff that we do, it's a lot of like, I think people like misread the process and what's going on. They're like, I think they're approaching it in a sense of like, hey, how can I get paid to play video games all the time? It's like, no, that's not what we're doing.
Exactly.
Right. We're generating content, and it's a whole thing. I was like, I can explain to you the technical process of what we do, but that's not the right answer. So like, I kind of crafted this like generic response, and like
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Paul gave me a hard time one time about like he's like, oh, you can't just like copy and paste that. I was like, dude, they're asking the same questions. It's a well crafted response. I think it's like I'm obviously personalizing a good point of it, but I'm giving them like a ton of information. I'm like, this is our process. It's not the right process. It could work better for you. It could work. I'm not saying you have to do this. This is what we do. We find that it works. Please find your own path and please follow that.
And then you also run into that thing where it's just like, I hope this person isn't asking me for my process thinking that it's this prescriptive thing where it's like, oh, well, if not that I'm one to be not that I'm an example in any capacity, but like when people ask in general, like, oh, so if I adopt exactly what this person did,
I will be able to repeat the success.
The results. Yeah, which isn't a thing. And if that's the case, that's a separate conversation. Like,
well, what I always take it as is they're asking, in short, it's like, how do I win? How do I win?
What's the cheat code for me to succeed?
Right. So let me skip all the BS that you have to do for maybe 4 years or something to actually figure it out yourself. And this is coming off across sort of negative, but I think it's because I've asked those questions to other people before.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out how to do that wholeheartedly instead of like, because I think I can count probably 15, 20 like phone. I'd love to get on the phone with people. Like if
totally.
They try and email me and I'm saying, hey, like I'm super busy, but I'm like usually driving a lot. So can you just call me? And they're usually just like, yeah, like, okay, like I'd rather do that anyway.
Yeah.
So we get on the phone, but it's usually me just talking for like an hour about like do it yourself. Like stop asking me for one, because like I don't know what the answer is because I don't even know what the heck I'm doing right now.
Yeah, dude, exactly. Dude, we feel like I feel Satchell and we talked about it before. We're just like, I don't know, man. I'm carving a new pathway right now that no one's ever gone down before. Like,
and there's a series of happy accidents
and everybody's
that
doing
happen
that
along the way when you do it yourself that I kind of don't want to miss.
Right.
And it's almost like I'd rather.
When it's like you're right, Christian. It's never a negative thing. It's like, man, I would like I love teaching people. I love like teaching all these things. There's just an inadequate amount of time for me to teach everyone, and so I think that's like a refocus of like what maybe like you could do in like a video sense. So you could expand those things, but even that you're still going to get those questions. Even
and
if
you tackled it really well in the last blog post he did. So if you didn't see Nick, he made this blog post about lighting interviews properly, right?
Oh, cool.
Just say the title. Say the title of it. That's what sells it.
Right. That's what sells it. So we had this clickbaity title intentionally, and the moment I saw it, I was like, he's gonna shit all over this. I know it. And then I went into it. It's exactly what happened. But it actually was an informative article about that thing. But it was super like, this is a thing that I do. Chill out. This is not gospel per se. Like, find your way, but this is what I do, and we found success through it.
That's
and
cool.
Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And like, I very much like that kind of approach to that kind of stuff, because then it becomes like whenever we have a normal Boots panel, like whenever we go to a convention and we have like a panel, like, well, not every time, but like the questions from sometimes the questions from the I really don't want to offend anyone if it's not clear with all this preface. Like a lot of the questions from like the aspiring is sort of like, it kind of gets, if you're reductionistic about it, it becomes like how you said, like, how do I win? Or it becomes a question about analytics, like the analytics game, and a lot of that stuff feels like you can't predict it. Like a lot of people have their theories about how to make something. What is it? Viral? Viral goes in a bin with the word cyber. Where it's like this stupid word that like
it's such a buzzword.
Mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
But nonetheless, like something that does well with analytics that will like yield really good ad revenue. Or whatever.
No, totally. And like I'm sure you guys get like filmmaking questions all the time, and I always. Right. I always tell people like the technical process and like trying to explain that. And then when it comes down to like the content part of like the discussion, I'm always just like, I can't tell you how to make content. I can't tell you how to make the right content for you. You need to just make content and figure out what's right for you and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And like if you are trying to be like an on-screen presence, you just have to like be interesting and make interesting content. Like that's to do what we do in that sense, like in a non-filmmaking thing, you need to be interesting and make interesting things. From a filmmaking part, you just need to make interesting things, and I try and explain that too. That's like, I can't teach you how to do that. You just need to like find your own way with that.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard part that people...
Which is the hard answer.
Yeah.
But that's what I say every time. It's just basically like, like I usually always say like, I've been doing this for 5 years, and the people that I look up to, that I like really want to aspire to be like, are like 70. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is like heartbreaking.
Right.
Because it's like, it's just, but it leads you to the answer, to find the answer in yourself, to be like, okay, so like, do I really love this thing because I genuinely love it? Or am I doing this because I'm interested in this for a moment? Like,
right.
Is this like yo-yos? Like, I really like yo-yos.
Yeah.
But is this gonna, like, obviously that's something that's gonna pass, or like, like,
Just got
or like,
no, but that's the question, man. It's like, do I like yo-yos enough, and do I want to commit enough training to yo-yos to be the yo-yo champion?
Right, there is world champion yo-yo players.
Yeah,
and the same thing with Black Ops and a bunch of different, like, there's so many people that just like say, yeah, like I want to, and like, I think that's a
only the yo-yo guy has less debt, exponentially less debt than the filmmaking guy who's really enthusiastic.
Yeah, I mean, what is he gonna buy, like a $300 yo-yo once in a while?
Yeah. This past Christmas, I started looking up at all the things that I wanted when I was a kid that I couldn't get because they were too expensive. But when you look at them, like, it was like the Bumblebee yo-yo. Do you remember those?
Oh yeah.
They were like $150, and they slept for like 2 minutes or something like that. You could do all these series of tricks, and like and it would never come back. It would be like 2 minutes of just sleeping. And I was like, dang, I could really afford that right now.
Yeah.
Like, I have like the ability. And then it opened up all these different things of like, wait, what else can I afford now that I have a job? So,
oh my God. Here's like a prime example.
Man.
Paul, my producing partner, and I, Paul, we started playing Magic the Gathering again. Like, we played it when we were younger, and like, he showed me this thing. He's like, hey man, they have like a website where like you don't have to like buy packs of cards anymore to like collect them and build a deck. He's like, you just plug in the cards that you want for your deck, and then it's like the Amazon of Magic, and it just ships you those cards, and you're like good to go. I was like, oh, what? So we got like back into it, and I was like, I just built a deck for $70. I was like, I can afford $70 and not have to like worry about it.
Yeah, dude, I have one of my good friends is like, I think he's number 7. Maybe I'm thinking of it wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, but he's like number 7 in the country.
That's
awesome. Playing Pokemon.
Oh, nice.
And
cool.
He's like, it's one of those, like, he plays in a band. Like, my sister's in this touring band in Louisiana, and they I got to hang out with him this past Thanksgiving, and he's like, he does music, and it's very much like, it's weird because it's very much like us. Like, we have like different things that we like doing,
right,
but we always come back to this thing. Like, that thing is like Pokemon for him. But he was like, it just brought me, because you were talking about building decks, I was like, so how does it work? And it's like really, really, really complicated.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
It's like, seems sort of like accessible on the front end, but like the steps that you go down, like, it just gets multiply more like complex, and like
it gets crazy. Like, we're not even like that good. We just like, oh, this is pretty fun. It's a good way to like, both of us like hit export and like, hey, we got like 20 minutes to kill while we export this thing. Why don't we go play around real quick? But hey, to tie this back around, I think that's an interesting point to what you were talking about, because you're like, I want to be known as this one thing. I don't want to be like a presence. Was that your conundrum? Like you were trying to figure out like, would you rather the mystery? I think the audiences now I think are more intrigued by knowing more and more about you. Do you know what I mean?
Which is kind of, maybe it's just not what I like. I got into film and I got into music because I didn't know how to talk about my feelings or like the way that I felt about the world. So I had to do it through these things,
I think people are way more interested when people are like that. There's this band that my wife and I love called Stella Star, right? And they broke up, and I was like, oh, that sucks they broke up. I found out that the lead singer is also a filmmaker and made like an Academy Award-winning film. So I'm like, oh my God, I love them even more because of that. And it's like these weird things that you find out. Like, I'm sure if people like knew, that your friend was like, number 7 Pokemon player and in this band, they'd be like, oh wow, I like his band even more now, or like I like them because of this, or it'd just be a weird kind of thing. So I think you can walk both of those lines. You can be like creator and teacher, or like you can be a creator in two different kind of fields. Like you could be like informative entertainment kind of creator, or just purely artistic kind of thing. And I think you can walk that line pretty easily nowadays.
Well, what gets me is like I see my like peers starting to do that, but in the way of like trying to capitalize off of it.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Sure. Which feels really disgusting to me, which is why like even like I'm sure like it's nice to be able to do that, but I also have friends who are like have a lot of social media presence, and they never want to do that. You know what I mean? Like it's the same way, and because they like doing like they like actually just doing work instead of like the perception of doing work, and like
I think that's the social media.
That is true. That's
ruse.
I think the whole thing with social
highlight
reel effect,
Yeah, the social media is like such a weird thing. Like I know people on Twitter. I'm like, man, they're so active on Twitter. Like people love engaging with them on Twitter. Like I don't understand it. And then it's just like, well, that's all they're doing all day. They're not.
Yeah.
That's only like one facet of it. They're focusing all on that, and that's just like a facade. Like there's nothing to back the rest of that up. It's just all talk. Yeah. And like when you look at some people's like Twitter profile, and it's like 25,000 tweets. Like, what are you talking? Like, what are you doing?
Right? Yeah,
that's insane. Like, who? And like the proportion of like the tweets you have to like your followers. Like, I'll see like some people with like all these tweets, and it's like you have like 100 followers. Like, who are you talking to? Who are you saying all these things to?
Yeah. Dude, do you remember when Twitter used to be? I used to follow this guy. I think he played guitar in a band called Every Time I Die, I think, and I was a super big fan of the band.
Right.
And like it was right when Twitter, I felt like came out, and I got on Twitter and I started following him. He was like, I don't remember how I found him, but it was when if you followed somebody, you even saw all of their comments to everybody, all of their replies to everybody.
Yeah.
And I was like, get me out of this. It was like the worst experience ever.
Yeah, I did that with Kevin Smith. I was like, look, man, I like Kevin Smith. Like, I appreciate what he does and everything. I was like, I can't follow this dude on Twitter because of that.
I found I can't, even now with that sort of like privacy put on at replies. Like, I have a hard time following people who I really, really like, or people I've admired since I was really young, because you get that Monday morning kind of effect, like those Monday morning thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not in love with your Monday morning thoughts, but I'm in love with the stuff that you put out. Like, there's this weird, and sometimes it tarnishes it, like it ruins it, and you're like,
it really does. Like, I like the band Cake a lot, but I don't like to follow them on anything because like their lead singer John McCrae is like super political, and like we may agree on some things, but like I it's like, dude, I just like your music, man. I don't want to hear about all this stuff. And like that's kind of like that social media walk. It's like man, just focus on putting another album out, dude. Please.
Yeah. I feel the same way about Mark Ruffalo.
Yes. Man. Yeah, you're right.
He's not as bad as some people, but he's
right.
I keep getting closer and closer to that unfollow button. But I love him so much. Hey, but I don't want to be maybe I came off a little bit too negative about some of this stuff.
No, not at all.
I don't think so at all, man.
Yeah, this is all the gray area stuff we're figuring out.
Yeah.
No one before us has ever had to think about it.
There's always, everything's more interesting in the gray area of everything, you know, when it comes to everything. I mean, relationships or creative work or whatever, but I think I'm just sort of not like upset or like sad, but like I just love the idea that people don't always need to speak for their work, and like that is, you know, coming around to being like not a possibility anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think I think some people can get away with it if like, but like the people that I aspire to be, and like I was saying, they're all kind of older, like, you know, Aronofsky or Cuarón or like McQueen or something like that, you know, and like them having a Twitter presence is like kind of like a joke. And I wish that was like, because they're already acclaimed and they've already had such a body of work, you know.
Yeah,
and
man.
like,
I feel the same way. It's like you know.
So it's just kind of bumming, you know. It's just kind of like, oh, like I wish it was like a hopeful, like, man, like what if like the only way that you could talk to people is like by just doing, like by making stuff, you know, and like you didn't have to sell yourself to make it worthy to watch, you know.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. Like I wish that we're kind of like exiting a world where like your work speaks for itself and you don't have to like you have to promote it anymore. You have to like talk about it all the time and like talk about how great it is, which is like the hardest thing to do. You know, it's hard to like be humble about, you know, and you know, you're proud of something, but you don't want to be like, hey, watch this. It's the greatest fucking thing ever made. You just want to be like, hey, please watch this.
Greatest thing ever.
You know, but we just had like an issue with that. Like we made this like short film kind of thing that we like teamed up with the sketch group, and we made this like short film, and we were like, oh, we'll put it up on our channel. And then we started having all these like second guesses about it because we were like, you know, it's totally different from what our audience likes. It's totally different feeling than all this stuff. And so we kind of like guilt tripped ourselves into making like a message and just being like, hey, look, this is a little different. We hope you like it. And then I was like, it was like up a while, and I was like, man, I just did the thing that I hate. Like I always hated in film school when like people would be like, they would make excuses for their film, and I was like, no, just let the work show. And I was like so mad that we did that. But like luckily we were able to like cut that part out, so now it's just like plays, and I was like, thank God it just like plays, and it's it. And like if people don't like it, they don't like it, and if they have an issue with it, they have an issue with it. But like I'm proud of it, and I think that's kind of the way I want to go like back into it. Just be like, hey, look, I'm gonna make what I want to make, and you guys can come along for the ride or not. But you know, I'd love to have you, and if not, you know, I'm sure we'll see each other down the road.
Yeah. I guess it gets maybe a little bit harder when like that crowd or that like audience is kind of like who made you famous, or like your fans in a way. Like I just like, that's like a weird thought to like, you know, people always get pissed at directors when they try something new, or bands or something. Like do you guys remember like everybody like wrote off like Mumford and Sons for like 2 months because they came out with this album that was like really different, and like just trash like all of my friends that like love music were just trash talking Mumford and Sons, and I was just like like
what happened?
I think I tweeted something. I was like, Twitter has literally like made artists afraid to do themselves. Like it was like something like
No,
like,
that's
it was
real,
just
dude.
like every single person on Twitter was just like,
It's like when
let
it's
me
like when
just
Random
shit on
Access
this.
Memories came out, and like everyone's like, it's not. What's Daft Punk's claim to fame? I don't even know.
Well,
It's this record that came out like 10 years ago, and they're like, well, it's not that. I mean, it's not as good as that. It didn't really remind me of that. It's like, so you want a creative human who has had experiences from 10 years ago to now to create the same work they did 10 years ago. Play that back for yourself. What do you do for a living? Would you like to be on the level that you were 10 years ago?
Yeah.
That's I don't know.
That's the hard part. Is like the internet wants that. They want same but different, you know. And Satchel, I talked about it on Star Wars. Like, everyone was like, "Oh, well, Star Wars is, The Force Awakens is just A New Hope." It's like, okay, well, we made another Star Wars that was not Star Wars, and you guys got mad that it wasn't Star Wars. So here's a Star Wars that is Star Wars. So I don't know what you guys want to be happy.
Right.
I think every artist is going to deal with that, and I think that like. You just got to keep doing. You just got to do you, man. I don't think you can play to
you
audiences.
Can't. There's
you
no.
Gotta,
you're gonna drive yourself crazy. They're
going to be disappointed ultimately. Like ultimately, you're gonna make a misstep in their eyes, and it's just gonna, it'd be better if it's on your terms than somebody else's.
Yeah.
Like at some point, our audience is gonna get tired of.
I respect that you read the comments, Nick.
Oh, dude,
wild.
like when we started, I read all the comments, on every video. Like I got notifications, and I would respond to people. I just can't due to time now. Like I'll pop in every once in a while and try and interact with people and course correct any issues they might have. But you just that winds up being too much of your day. I can't
It does. It gets today. I was on this call with Ace. And we were talking about. I was talking about this one. So I normally. I'm gonna come off as a hypocrite. But I normally don't read comments, even though I say I read the comments. I read some, to make sure. Usually I'm not gonna get into details of it, but I received this one that I decided to read one, and I read one, and it was because it was really long, and it was this guy who by the way, this isn't gonna be a bitch sesh. It was there. And it was it was this really long, it was 5 paragraphs, and it was just sort of here are all the new things that you did, and here's why I don't like them or why they don't serve a functional purpose. And it was one of those things where wait,
someone said this to you?
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, they're like, hey, there's this guy, they reference, hey, you know that channel, Every Frame of Painting? This guy wrote this guy made a video about that video that we watched about how to do a good video essay, so that it's not and then, but it does meanwhile back at the ranch or whatever.
Right.
And it was so it was so dark. That's the worst. The entirety of it was just so ominous.
He basically was just I don't like any of the new things that you're trying, and here's someone who's doing it better than you are right now.
Right, and it's just dude, this is a walk, man. This isn't. Yeah. This isn't. Usually when people criticize things, it comes from a posture of, well, they were trying really hard. And it's maybe sometimes things that you don't like don't have anything to do with someone trying really hard to please you, but maybe it's just something that you don't have a taste for. Maybe you're not better than work that you don't like, but you just don't like it because it wasn't for you. Mm-hmm. And when you paste this this try hard caricature, it makes it seem as if I'm marketing you, but it's I work full time in marketing, doing graphic design. I do this on the side so that I'm not marketing, so that I can create a walled garden of something that I like, Right. And it's this weird. I had a thank you video, and in it had a screenshot of a browser with one of my videos in it, and in the comments, that blue bar that appears on YouTube when you're signed in, it says you have some comments that haven't been reviewed, and it was on there because I don't review them really.
Right.
But someone saw that. They're I noticed you have a review. You don't read the comments. I feel like you're infringing upon my freedom of speech. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? You're not entitled to any of that, man. It's this weird.
Just because you breathe into the Grand Canyon doesn't mean I have to rebreathe what you breathe to acknowledge your existence, man. Get the fuck out of here, Jesus.
It's too intense.
That's crazy,
so all in all, Christian, you're right. It's too intense.
Yeah, it gets to be. You wind up having to try to please too many people, and it's you're ultimately doing a disservice to yourself, both mentally and creatively.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, like we put videos up on the internet.
That's also true. Yeah.
What do we want what do we want to happen? You know,
Right.
what are we trying? I'm kind of annoying myself day to day, being like, well, what did I get? Like, this is what you're doing. You know, like
what do you get out of it? I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, if you don't want to deal with comments on the internet, don't put shit on the internet. You know,
Right.
like, don't.
Yeah, but
If
that's,
you don't
that's
wanna-
not.
Well, I mean, I
That's not
don't
the
think
right
I don't think
mindset with
that
it.
you can justify human indecency by saying don't.
Oh
share
no,
anything.
but it's like, are you ever gonna get rid of it? No, like, you know what I mean. Like, you're
I think
never gonna be totally rid of it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I guess like I keep worrying that I'm sounding like a jerk, but I guess I'm just gonna get over it.
No, dude,
You know-
No.
Yeah.
Nobody sounds like a jerk at all, dude. You don't.
Yeah,
Not at all.
Well, I guess like.
I feel, dude. I feel the same way. Like I said something, and I was just like, "Oh man, that came kind of across."
Well, you know what? That's the effects of the internet, right? Because
Right.
there's no room
Yeah.
for a sandbox on the internet. You can't have beta thoughts. Everything is so final. Like,
Right.
whether you're
Yeah.
uploading it or whether we're saying this on this podcast, it's going to go on the internet. It's sort of like there's this weird disconnect from everything else in the human experience where this is like we're saying it, so therefore that's what it is. When it's not. Like, I feel like I know in a year I'm going to listen to this and be like, what the hell was I talking about? Like, there's
Right.
no, you can't
Yeah, but there's
escape
also
that.
there's also like a weird.
Maybe a week.
Well, there's like a weird
That's
like
more
value.
realistic.
There's a weird like value to like internet comments. You know what I mean? Like you read a comment and you're like,
Sure.
Of
"Ah,
course.
it puts me in a shitty mood, right? But then ultimately, like, you
And I hate
forget
to be
about
that
it.
guy. I regret it already. I hate to be that guy. Everyone on YouTube says, "Oh, well, I read a YouTube comment and it hurt my day, and I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do." I'm gonna be that guy, honestly. And I had to like do this huge preface. Ace had to be like, "Dude, it's all right to talk about it," because I think there's a place to have a conversation about it. But
Well,
At
the
a certain point-
funniest thing is like you probably, and I get this all the time, like anything that we do at Music Bed, we put it up, and it gets like just the last film we put up about our friend Chad Lawson. Like, he's this piano player, and he's got like this great career, and like I love the film that it ended up being, and like I was super proud to put it up, and we got like something like over 200 like really really positive comments,
Yeah.
and then you get one little shit that's just like you know like
Yeah.
feeling inadequate for some reason and just wants to take it out on you, and then
Right.
you're like, why am I focus so hard and I make every decision thus forward from that one comment.
Right.
And you get like, you're like, wait a minute, I just got like one of the best like receptions on something that I think I've ever gotten.
Right.
And like, you know, but for some reason, it's kind of just like I don't know, the way that our minds work. At least, I don't know if it's like that for everybody.
It is.
It
It
probably
is like that for
is.
everybody. It's very much
Yeah.
like that for everybody.
So
And
I
think
guess
like you take that and you just kind of like assign it like a value. You're like, okay, well, shitty internet comment will take up, 10 minutes of my mental capacity, and then I'll get over it and stuff. And then you build like you try to like over time like build a better value. Like, oh, I got a positive comment. That should
Right.
weigh more, and I'm gonna try and like focus on that positive comment more than that. And then
Yeah.
even like now, what I'm trying to do is like peer comments will speak volumes.
that's where
Like,
it is. That's where
I
it
was
is.
feeling like really bad about
Yeah.
like that sketch we put up because we had like some like people who definitely like didn't like it and advised us to not quit our day jobs which they think is playing video games on the internet. So I was like, man, that really hurt. And like I texted Paul and I was like, man, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't have done this. And he's like, no, man, we made a great thing. It's just not for those people. We
Yeah.
should be proud of what we did. And I was like, you're right. So that's like the most value, and that's where I should be like focusing on like impressing peers rather than like people consuming what we make.
Well, that's
I don't know.
sort of
You know what I
been-
mean? That's
sort
kind of
been the
weird.
Sorry,
I
go
don't
ahead.
know. No, I just feel like it makes me sound like unappreciative of having an audience or anything like that. I super appreciate having an audience, but like,
No, I've learned a lot by having people chime in. Like,
yeah, I think it's more important to impress your peers rather than impress your audience. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know about. So
it's late. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, it's totally cool. I don't know if I've landed on like impressions as much as like if I do put something out, I've sort of leaned on. Well, we sort of have like our friends like in normal boots, and we're all kind of putting out stuff, and we all see it when something new goes up. It's like if something was weird or like could have been better, I know one of you guys will just be like, "Hey, that was an interesting thing you did. Well, did you think about whatever?" And that usually carries exponentially more weight than viewer feedback, just because we're all kind of like in it and constantly thinking about it. But it doesn't mean that viewer feedback means nothing. There's value there, and I've received some astute comments that have been great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. You start to like, yeah, you're right. Like people, like you can be upset about like getting a bad comment. It's fine. It does. It hurts your pride because you like it's like getting dumped. You know what I mean? You're like, I put myself out there and I just got dumped, basically.
I'm appreciating the full swing of this conversation. We're like hard left swing of the pendulum, hard right swing of the pendulum.
Can you imagine an actually, I don't know, like David O. Russell just came out with a new film and it's not doing like crazy good.
Right.
But he just came off of like one of the like two of the best films he's ever made.
Right.
Can you like imagine on like that level of like people not liking your stuff and like, but you're David O. Russell? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally, man. And
do
like,
you think it's that same thing for him? You know what I mean? Is that weird? Like,
I think it's got to be, man. Like, it's got to be like, I don't know, man. Like,
it's like if I can't handle it on this level, though. You know what I mean? Not that I can't handle it, like I'm gonna go insane or something, but like if I like am like bowing out at like this level of like
you can't bow out. You're super talented. You just gotta like keep.
No,
going.
I mean not bow out in like the sense of like screw film and gonna go ride a bike or something, but like
and just like dealing with an online.
Yeah, like let me and yeah, it is late. And we're all kind of. Losing our minds in this same conversation, but
no, I think it's like you're at some point I'm going to make a weird generalization.
Do it.
I think the level at which your presence rises, both in talent and like audience size. I think at some point you get kind of like a gate is like in audio you use like a gate to like drop out like the lower right when you use like some kind of like filtering process to like I'm like terrible with audio to like okay, I don't want to hear anything below this decibel level, right?
Oh, you're talking
sort of like
about
like a high pass.
Like a high pass or like a low pass, right? Exactly. So like, I think like as you rise in that stuff, some of that just gets like lost, and you just like never hear about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I almost wonder, is it naive? I'm asking because I don't know.
Like I don't think David O. Russell is like going through Twitter and be like, oh my god, people are not liking Joy.
Yeah.
For him, it's more like, oh shit, Variety said that Joy is not good. You know what I mean?
And then you're like, oh, I know that guy Variety. I hate him, and he hates me, and like we got in a fight. And you're like, what's Twitter? You're like, probably.
Yeah.
You know
like that
mean?
pool of influence, like it becomes like a funnel at some point where it's just like, oh, fucking Hollywood Reporter said this. Come on, Hollywood Reporter, and then you're not seeing like any like the Twitter stuff that people are saying or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, it's like the idea that like. I'm sure he's worked on Joy for at least 3 years now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Writing it and like the whole process of it. And then it takes someone 2 hours to shit on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
dude, but a statue was never built in the name of a critic.
Yeah.
Not to take away from the profession at all.
Damn, dude, that's good. I like that.
Hold on, let me tweet that real quick. I'm kidding.
No, that's a really good dude. That's
is it naive to think that you can throw away or like work towards or even work towards throwing away the idea of there being a level, even like throwing away the idea of there's a level? I mean, I think like I
I
don't
think
know.
you can. You just have to like
yeah.
work in like a bubble at that sense. You know what I mean? You just have to like.
Yeah.
Like the people I value the most are folks who, in the event that they do happen to like take an interview for anything, like, they're incredibly personable.
Mhm.
Like they make excellent stuff and they're incredibly personable, and they don't play into like, I don't know, they don't play into any like caricature of like a perfectionist or whatever. You know what I mean? Though I'm sure there are people who are neurotic, and that's cool too. But like,
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This past year, I got to interview a lot of people that I like look up to. Well, and for example, like someone like Reed Morano, who just made a film called Meadowland with Olivia Wilde, and she's doing this show she's DPing this show now with Martin Scorsese, and like, so she's kind of like at least in my world, like big shit, you know what I mean? But like genuinely one of like the nicest people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like and for like I did this thing for Malibu Rum like a couple months ago, and we had to follow around Red Foo. Do you know who that is?
no.
No.
Red Foo from Party Rockin' in the House Tonight. He did
Oh.
LMFAO.
Yeah.
He's like the lead singer of LMFAO.
Oh, okay. That dude. Okay.
And like he was super rad and like super cool. But you know who was a big douche? Was like every single one of his dancers. You know what I mean? Like the people who like, it's like the people for some reason who are like, who have like been through that already,
Right.
are like totally like over the idea of being like mysterious. Do you know what I mean? Which I'm kind of talking about myself right now, and like I'm sure like I don't at some point like I'm gonna get so annoyed with myself and like want to backtrack a little bit or something like that. But like I thought like I was just like sitting there and like they were all just being like totally the biggest douches, and I'm just like, do you know who you are?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, do you, like you're saying right now that you're cool by proxy, like because you're
Right.
you're on a tour bus with somebody who's way more famous than you are. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, gosh, if I just don't want to ever seem like that. Which is, I guess, like the at the end of what we're talking about, we just don't want to be misunderstood.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
like I don't want to be misunderstood as. More importantly, I don't want to be misunderstood as someone who's trying to be misunderstood, or misunderstood for someone who's trying to be complex, or trying to be a filmmaker, or trying to be like an auteur or something. Like I want to be misunderstood because like I said a word when I wasn't supposed to say it, or something like that. You know, like because I can't talk, or like I want to be understood. For a guy who just loves, which is like why I love this podcast and I listen to it all the time. And,
dude, thanks.
You know, which is why I think you guys are never negative about shit. You guys are never like trying to sound like you know films more than you know. You're not trying to be like Elvis from like KCRW or something. Like you're just like, this is what I thought about it, and this is what I think, and maybe it's wrong, but like, Satchel, what did you think? You know what I mean? Like, and that's like being like self-aware like that and being like genuine like that is something that you don't always see, which is like, you know. So I feel like to kind of maybe. I'm not trying to end this conversation, but maybe like.
No, I'm having a blast with this conversation.
This is great.
Real talk.
This like, I guess at the end of the day, like I want to be understood as like a person who just loves what, like the reason I'm doing this is because I love it, and not because I'm trying to be I'm not trying to have the idea. Like I don't want people to think that I'm trying to be a filmmaker, because I know people like that, and I can call him out from a mile, you know. It's like the kid who gets a 5D and then 2 weeks later he has like a photography business. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's like,
yeah, seriously, man.
I'm like, and then you know and then it's people they come up to you and they're like, so like you like, give me some advice or something like that. I'm kind of generalizing, but it's like, I don't have anything to say to you right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's and I don't have time. I was talking to my brother about this, like, you know, we are incredibly busy people, and it's not, I don't want to like say that with being like, it's not cool to be busy, in my opinion. You know, like when people say, "How are you?" and you say busy, I think that's just like a dumb, you know, like, that's just like,
Yeah.
that's not a real answer. So like,
I read this thing that you shouldn't say, like when people, you know, it was Morgan Spurlock wrote this like article, and he was just like, he's like, you know, when people ask me if I'm busy, I don't say that I'm busy anymore because we're all busy. We all have things.
Yeah.
right.
I say that I'm productive. I like saying that I'm productive. I'm productive in the sense that I'm doing a million things and I'm getting it all done, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I think that's a good way to like look at it.
Yeah. But I guess like what I was trying to say is,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you know,
Yeah.
no. I guess what I was trying to say is like, it can be easy to say that I don't have time for that stuff.
Right.
You know what
right.
I mean? Like I'm too busy to have time for this like kid, or I'm too busy to have time to work on like how people perceive me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Right.
put that like, and that's not true. You know, like it's not. And sometimes I like convince myself that it
I
is
get it.
true.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like where it's
Oh my
like,
God.
I'm like, it is value. You know, you're just like fooling yourself into believing that something isn't true by just like, I don't know, maybe someone else can finish my thought.
No.
I don't know what I'm saying.
No, that I don't know. That landed with me. I follow.
Yeah, totally.
I totally follow that. There was this interview by this guy named Garrett Martin. He's the what's it called? I'm just gonna roll with it. It might come out sounding stupid. I'm just gonna roll with it. His name's Garrett Martin. He's the editor-in-chief at Slate for articles related to comedy and video games. And he was having this interview. He's not famous per se or anything.
Right.
He's just a guy who does really good work. And I happen to follow him by proxy, but through one of my friends who follows him, because he's really funny. And he had this interview on SoundCloud, and I was just kind of listening to him talk about like how he gets things done. And you know, someone asked him like, "Hey, so for these for the you know, either editor-in-chief of articles for like video games and stuff, like what kind of websites are you reading? Like, what kind of articles came out this year that really inspired you?" Because like it was fourth quarter of the year, and his response was, you know, honestly, I don't really read or keep up with video game journalism that much. I just keep up with journalism in general. Like I keep up with the entire gamut, and not really specifically that. And he was like, and I find that really valuable. But what he said along with that was like, and I don't mean to sound arrogant by saying that. And I thought that it was really, for whatever reason, I really honed in on the fact that he said that, because I think I find in myself this temptation to sort of, if there's something that I do care about, but I find it foolish, to kind of fool myself into believing that I like, kind of like how you're saying like that you're too busy for it, but that there's sort of like this ascension to it, because sort of like, well, I'm outside of the scene, like that's not my jam, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think in some ways it can be a lie, like, because I am concerned with, I don't know, I think it's a mixed bag, you know, like I don't necessarily, in a lot of ways, I don't feel like I'm necessarily a part of any scene for the things that I enjoy, and I do like that, because you still get to like look at things objectively. You know, you don't get wrapped up or desensitized to like conversations about the things that you do. You know, like if someone cracks, like I'm a graphic designer, and if someone cracks a Helvetica joke, like I still feel like I can kind of laugh at it, because I haven't inundated myself with like that world of like stuff like that where that's super like lame or whatever. But like, I think, but at the same time, like I'm in it because I like, it's interesting. It's stimulating the kind of conversations people are having about the things that we do, because they are really specific, and they are really and the internet is valuable in that way, so there's this weird back and forth that I think looks a lot like our conversation for the past hour.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, oh yeah, like I'm into it, but I'm not really into it, like I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe at the end of the day, like, you have to figure out what works for you. Like where you naturally get distracted or like get discouraged with like the internet. Like for me, like I can't even remember the last time I was on Vimeo. Like just looking at things,
Yeah.
Because that's, for me, it's like a trap, like for me, it's like a mental trap no matter what. But like, you can't make me stop going to the movies, know, like there's no comparison to me, but like one is like my peers, and then the other is like my like inspirations, like Vimeo is and stuff has always been like me and my friends and like people that I know, like with everything that they're making, and it's like I don't know, what's the last film I saw, like I don't know Ryan Coogler, who just made Creed. Like I probably won't ever meet him unless it's like some weird series of events, so I can fully enjoy that film for just being a film. And like, I guess that's what I'm saying. It's like, find out like kind of what works for you, as far as like what doesn't get me down is like, not watching Vimeo. Like that just works for me. I feel like I go to work and I work better on what I'm working on every single day when I'm not thinking about my friend Joe Smo and like the badass thing he just made, and I'm like, dang it, why am I working on this piece of junk, like and it's but it's like good, and like you're gonna make it, and like people are gonna love it, but like if you're just keep getting distracted by that, and like, so that to me is like I turn off Twitter pretty much for like half the day at least, like in the morning I keep it up because I feel like people are like funnier in the morning for some reason. So like, like I keep it up in the morning and then I turn it off after lunch when I really bunkered down in work, and like, so I don't know. It's like, I think I'm continuing to figure out how to stay inspired instead of discouraged,
Yeah, I agree, man. Cause I used to have like a Twitter like app and feed and like kept that up for most of the day. And I was like, man, I'm just getting like distracted by this. Distracted and like, not jealous, but just like, look at these people. They're being creative on here or being like interesting on here. Like, why am I not interesting? Why am I not being creative or funny right now? And I'm like, that's because I'm not doing that right now. I'm not focused on doing that. I'm focused on this other project. And this is the thing that's distracting me. So I got to like turn that off and shut that down. I just like turned off like all notifications. Like I might like if I'm really in on a project, like I'll turn off like internet on my computer and just well, even focus on that.
Even the stuff that I do end up watching, and maybe this is I don't know if it's funny or not. Some people like my friends see me doing this and are watching these things, and they make fun of me for it. So, but I'm going to say it anyway. But like when I do watch content, or like when I do have a moment to get on Twitter or Vimeo or something. Well, like just for example, like I'm super into this Twitter account called 30 Second Fights. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
It's 30 second.
Bum fights?
It's just mindless like high school fights. Do you know what I mean? And like with kids just capturing it. Yeah. And it's just like usually it ends with some kid like getting knocked out and like everybody going, ooh, like just freaking out. And like, but for some reason it's kind of dark, and like I could never just like watch that like it's not something you would watch like around like your kids or your wife or something like that.
Right.
But like it's like the most refreshing thing for some weird reason. And it's like I hope it doesn't come off too dark, but it's like I could show you guys one, like it's just like
They all have the following media may contain sensitive material.
Yeah. It's like, and some of them are like, sometimes they'll do like 3. If there's a fight that's like really crazy, they'll do like, it's like more than 30 seconds, like they'll do a 2-part thing because it's just so crazy. But it's like, it's weird how it's like refreshing to me to like, my mind completely goes blank, and it's very it's the same thing as make it maybe a little bit more human, but like it's the same idea of like I used to make Legos during work for like 30 minutes a day.
You know what?
Because
I was thinking about that as like a creativity spur.
Oh, dude, it totally works because
does it? Oh, man, I heard that on that South Park documentary, and I was like, "That's so great."
Dude, that's where I heard about it too. It was what's his name from the creator of South Park or the writer of South Park?
Yeah, Trey Parker. Like,
yeah, I was like, man, I like Legos, and I like. I need something to. It's the idea. It's the same thing I do. I don't make Legos anymore, but I do coffee. Like I make a pour over, or like I do an espresso, and it's these very calculated type things where you're like, okay, I'm gonna weigh out the beans to this certain amount, and then I'm gonna heat the water to this temperature, and then I'm gonna,
That's what I do with tea.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
That's a good idea. Like I like the way he explains it too. He's like, I spend so much of my time making all of the decisions. I need something
to tell me what to do.
To tell me what to do, so I can just follow it and turn my brain off. And like, that's where like creativity like spurs and comes from.
Right. Even if it's just for a moment, just to reset your brain to like remember that things can be simple. Like things can just be simple and like stop freaking, because that's like 100% our lives, it's like, especially when you're like editing stuff. I don't know if you guys ever do documentary, but it's just like the entire process is like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know if this is gonna be shit or if it's gonna be good. We'll find out, and like you learn to kind of thrive in that. But like every single day I have to be like just take a breath and just like make some coffee and like everything's cool, Let me go talk to Will about the girl he's dating or something, and like, something that really takes me out of myself.
Man, this is my favorite part of the podcast. It's like creativity talk is like my favorite part of doing this, because it makes me feel like, wow, the weird intricate things that I do are not uncommon, and like other people do them, and there's like interesting ways to like work past that stuff,
or like these super specific thoughts that you're not the only one wrestling through it. It's tight.
We should do this again.
I agree. Let's do it again over a movie and creativity talk. I love it.
Cool. All right, I'll see you guys next week.
Let's maybe let's wrap this up. And Christian, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was
thanks for having me.
Awesome to meet you. Awesome to talk to you, man. You're a super good dude.
All right.
Yeah, dude.
Love you guys. See you later.
Yeah, likewise, man. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.